This is Garrett from Grace Community Church, and I'm with Rod, and we just wanted to try something different, and we're just going to kind of try to have a conversation talking about what it's been like, especially, from Rod's perspective during this COVID-19 crisis. This is something I think that can, be a little bit longer, something that can dive a little deeper than our normal update videos or any emails that we can send. So I hope that this is something that you guys like and enjoy, and let us know what you think about it. But with all of that said, one of the first things that I wanted to ask you, Rod, is what has this been like for you? What are some of the challenges that you've experienced through this? What are some of the highlights of doing church online and doing it a little bit differently than the way you're probably used to?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that question. I feel like God has been with us in such a remarkable, amazing way. We did a stewardship campaign in January and February, and I'm so thankful that campaign got completed before the COVID-19 crisis hit. Yep. That would have been really hard to try to do both those at the same time. At the same time, God was really good to us in providing us with some of the financial resources to get the screens and the lighting, and then some additional financial resources to do the streaming. And so I feel like we hadn't done streaming prior to, was it March the 23rd, I think?
Yeah.
We hadn't done any of that. And then in 4 or 5 days, you were the one who put all that stuff together. And since then, it's only gotten better and improved. And so I feel like we never in a million years would have planned on being up and running with online streaming had it not been for the COVID-19. And so this is one of those cases where God brought something really good for our church out of something that is, not a good thing.
Yeah. So, when you come in, we've been pre-recording those services on Thursday night. What is it like when you are preaching and there's maybe
nobody there,
one person, maybe me, sitting out in the audience, instead of having a normal congregation where you've got people who are giving you feedback from, eye contact and visual cues, and now all of a sudden you're speaking to a camera.
I know.
So how does that feel?
It is such a learning curve. And I think Josh would say the same thing, because I was there when Josh recorded his message, and Josh was saying, wow, this is just a real, this is a new thing. And there's a real learning curve. So one of the things I do is I envision people behind the cameras, so I know exactly where the cameras are. We've got 2 cameras that are set up there. And I will envision people behind those cameras.
Yeah.
And that's really helped me be able to speak specifically to people at Grace Community Church. And one of the things you've done is you've helped in telling me where people are watching from, because we can figure that out on Facebook, we can figure that out on YouTube. And so we got a group that watches us from India, and we've got a group that watches us from Atlanta, Georgia, and some from Illinois, I think, and Kentucky. And these are some people that various members of our congregation know. I don't know them personally. My parents watch from Florida, so I try to visualize people behind the camera.
Yeah,
but it is a learning curve. It's really been interesting.
Yeah, is there anything that you have to do differently, when you are preparing, maybe whether you're preparing your sermon or, if you're preparing like on a Sunday, to go in, are there any things that you have to do differently to prepare to, do that service? And then also, I guess on the other end of it, are there things that you are doing on Sunday mornings that are different than what you're used to because you've already recorded the service, so you are at home?
Yeah.
And so how has that been for you?
Well, Sunday mornings has really been interesting because Cindy and I watch it together. And the first time we watched it, when I got up to speak, I said, sweetheart, I feel like I need to get on my Nordic track and be using the Nordic track while I'm watching myself.
Yeah.
Because I just had to, it was just a little uncomfortable. And so as the weeks have gone by, because I can be critical about things as the weeks have gone by, that's been my habit, is that I will work out and I'll worship. I'll sing, Cindy will be right there singing. Our dog will be right there singing, but I'll be working out of the Nordic track while we're doing worship.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's been so different because, like you, I'm not used to being there every Thursday night for what the worship team would normally have as their practice, but then also on Sunday to wake up and, you're just building, there's all this anticipation for the stream and the service. And, you're seeing all the things, whether you said them or whether you made a decision to do something with a camera angle, and you can't, when it's online, you can't control it. You don't have any control of what's going to happen. And so, for me, there's been some times where it's a little harder. And
well, you were telling me how you got really nervous that one morning where we had Facebook, I think, slowed down, right?
Yeah.
And so you were kind of sweating bullets there for a while, kind of wondering how long that would last. And then it happened the second time.
Yeah, there was a time when, early on we were doing it, and then, Facebook will sometimes interrupt because it's just, Facebook's still building on their platform, and they're still figuring out video, or YouTube's been doing it a little bit longer. And so I don't know if it was just so much traffic, or, sometimes I don't know if it's my own computer. I'm using my older computer at home, and people started commenting about, the stream like going down or not working right. And I'm, really, you kind of feel like, if I can I need to fix it. I need to do something. And, I think after a while I got to the point where I realized, this is all in God's control, and I don't have any, ability to control what happens. I don't have any ability to control how people are responding to it, or how they're receiving, what we're doing online. And it's made me pray in a different way and think in a different way. But I think it's been a good, spiritual growth time for myself.
Well, because my work's done Thursday night. Mm-hmm. Your work then starts Friday morning because you're spending, a good chunk of time editing that for premiering it on Sunday.
Yes.
But then Sunday, if anything happens, you're feeling the pressure more than I am because you're the one who put all that together.
Yeah, I think, for you or Jared, where a lot of the preparation happens ahead of time. For me, everything is happening on the tail end. And, I can't, if something goes wrong, I can't, say, oh, we just need to re-record it. I need everyone to come in.
Right.
And there's been a couple of times where, the footage wasn't acting right, or, the audio wasn't acting right. And, I had to tweak some things on my computer, and, whether it was a miracle or just, me not being smart enough the first time, some of those things have worked themselves out. And we've had some moments, with, our technology that we've put into the building where I feel like God's really been working in that. We've talked about how awesome it's been to, some of the things that we were planning on doing with like the screens, and lights were things we were going to do before COVID-19 happened. But because of COVID-19, we were able to get some upgrades and actually do some things that we wouldn't have been able to afford financially. But because of the way, manufacturers and warehouse, stock has shifted a little bit, some of those manufacturers or the people in the warehouses have said, well, we'll just give you an upgrade at no additional cost.
I mean, I really feel like the Lord allowed us to get a much better, higher quality product because we bought it during COVID-19 than would have happened had we done it before or after?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten, I think at least 4 extra light units. We were able to get an upgrade from a normal standard definition screen to, a high definition screen. And I'm telling you that when you come into the building for the first time for worship, it's if you've seen it on Facebook or YouTube and you think that it looks really good, you just have to wait until you actually are in the building.
That is so true.
Because
it is so true. It is amazing how dominant that screen is. And so a lot of times I'm the only one worshiping on a Thursday night. My hands are raised. I'm worshiping. I'm singing. Yep. I'm the only one there worshiping. You're back in the back, running around, trying to make sure all the cameras are working properly. But I will tell you that the screens completely dominate the worship experience. And so looking up there and looking at the words, it has really enhanced my sense of worship as I've been the sole worshiper in the auditorium during those Thursday nights.
Yeah. And, you get, there's such a different atmosphere in the room because of that. But then when we were able to, everything's happened in stages, and part of that's just been, schedules and making sure that that's all working. But, another part is because of COVID-19, shipping has been delayed for a lot of things. And so, it takes time to get cameras or screens. And if something's, not in a warehouse and they're having to get it from the manufacturers, it takes that much longer. And so we were able to do, everything was happening in stages, and we were able to get the screens up, and then we were able to get the lights up. And when the lights were up, and we're still, making sure that they really work 100%, but the first time we were able to use them, that in conjunction with the screens, I mean, it completely...
It was amazing.
Changes the atmosphere, and
you can see it on online. You can see it online, but to be in the auditorium and to see it, it's really neat. And the crosses above the screens, and so it's really easy to draw your eyes upward toward the screens and then toward the cross above the screens. And you were the one who put that cross up there, right? I mean, you put up on that scaffolding.
We were putting the screens up, and the people that were helping us with that, the first thing they said is, you got to take the cross down and you got to move it somewhere else. And we did it that day. And it was Jared, Daniel, and I. And, we took it down, and it's way heavier than you think it is. and then they said, okay, well, now it's time. We got the screens up. It's time you can put it up. And, I was with Deb, who, cleans the building, and she said, well, you can tie knots, right? I was an Eagle Scout, and I said, I mean, I can, but hopefully they'll hold. And we got ropes, and I mean, like a pulley system, pulled that cross up there and hoisted it up to Jared and Daniel, and they had to get it in. And, it was just it was a little nerve-wracking, because the entire time I'm thinking, are the screws going to hold? Is everything going to hold? And it's still up there.
And we have L hooks up
there.
There, right?
There are L brackets in different places,
yeah.
and there are wooden studs in different spots. But
it's secure. It's secure, but
it definitely
that was a big day.
It feels so different in so many ways. And I think that when people get back in the building, they'll feel like, it was kind of a good time for us to be, kind of having a Sabbath of sorts to prepare and rest, but also, take the time where we're not having to do as many things to really focus on, just this one thing, this one aspect of what we hope, is a long time, ministry and a long time tool that we're able to utilize.
Well, you were really helpful for us in getting us up onto Facebook in the right way. We wanted to put out videos every Wednesday because we wanted to be in communication with our congregation, and those Facebook posts were incredibly helpful for other people who don't go to Grace to see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We've had people visit us online because of those Facebook posts. And but it's been your expertise with social media and all that stuff. Truth be told, Garrett's a genius. He really is. He's our pastor of online ministries and finance. He's a genius when it comes to all this technological stuff. Hope that doesn't embarrass you. Don't edit that out of the podcast, okay?
Yeah, I think, and I talked to a cousin of mine who's a pastor in another town, Drumright, and we were talking. I was talking to him about what are some of the things he's been doing, what are the things he's been struggling with, and one of the things he said, and I think it's true for us, is we don't strive for any kind of perfection or something that doesn't seem authentic, too polished, but I think God is calling us for a level of excellence and a level of effort that I hope has benefited some of you that have been stuck at home and feel disconnected at this time, and it's my hope that we can continue to do that.
Well, I think we've really been able to learn from our mistakes, and even if they weren't mistakes, we've been able to learn from some of our limitations. And every week there is some major improvements. Some of those improvements were noticed, I'm sure, by people who watch the services. They go, "Oh, okay, the screens are up now," or, "Hey, the screens are working like perfectly now," or the lights. But some of the improvements were behind the scenes things that are long term beneficial to our online streaming. And even once we start doing in-person worship services, we know there's going to be a learning curve, and so the first few weeks maybe there may be some things that we learn from, but we're committed to doing this over the long haul. And when we do this, I mean, you're pressing a button, and it's streaming immediately live, right?
Yep. It'll be, something that when we are, back up and running, on Sunday mornings, we'll have a live service running at the same time, and I'll be, watching, the chat in the different places, and making sure that, people feel, engaged in a way that, you might not have felt before when you were just watching our sermon videos. The way we used to, just have that one angle and it was just your sermon, and, different people had come up to me before in the past few years and said, it would be nice if we had live streaming, or if we could, see the screens or different things. And, I think in anything you do, there's always, if you do something right, but you do it at the wrong time, it's still maybe not the best choice. And I think for us, right now in this moment, this was something that it was the right thing to do, and it was the right time.
It was so clearly a God thing too. I mean, what happened was just so led of the Lord, and every step of the way. And I'm just really grateful for how He intervened the way that He did.
Yeah.
It was really kind of a Genesis 50-20 moment, where COVID-19 was intended for evil, but God did lots and lots of good in terms of us as a church being able to communicate.
Yeah. So one last question for you. How do you think this is going to change either, what you do week to week, or how you think about Sunday mornings, or, anything related to that? How is, going through COVID-19 going to change, your life, going forward?
Well, let me just speak to it from a church standpoint. I mean, one of the things that we see, this has been a real gift from the Lord, is that we have a lot of people from outside Bartlesville who want to consider Grace their church home, and they may be in a different state, they may be in a different country. We've had some people from the Caribbean, who've tuned in. So we're really grateful for that. So one of the things we're thinking about is that we want to have a really robust and great congregation here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, USA. But we also want to be actively ministering to people who are in a different state, different city. And one of the things I'm really grateful for is that people who moved during this process couldn't find a church home in the cities they moved to, were able to maintain their active participation in Grace through our online ministry. So that's been really good. In the immediate future, we're going to try to make sure that everything is safe here at the church, and that people can come and feel safe. For those who don't feel safe because they're immunocompromised, that they can still encounter our congregation at home. And so we're excited about that. But longer term, I think we're really excited about how we develop our online presence in a variety of formats.
Yeah, for sure. I think, that this is going to be kind of a catalyst, a starting point for, something that will hopefully, grow over time and, really draw people in who would have never, stepped foot through the doors, whether, they were, too nervous to be singled out, or, maybe they're introverted, maybe their lives are just, really hectic. They're having to, some people have to work on Sunday mornings and things like that.
Yeah.
And, my hope is that this can be, the online presence that we have can be a place where people can learn about what Grace Community Church is all about, and, feel drawn by the Spirit to come, into the building and experience what, our church has to offer, whether that's through, Grace students or Grace kids or our recovery ministries or small groups. And, we're not going to stop using the building. My hope is that through all of this and through, the growth that will happen, over the next through few years or 5 years or 20 years, that it, helps ramp up the use of our building and the things that we're going to be, working on here, in our physical space in the future.
Well, thank you for all that you've done. I mean, God has used you in an amazing way, both behind the scenes and now, more up front. So thanks for all that you did.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that are listening, just let us know, what you thought about this. Let us know, is it too long? Is it too short? What else would you want us to talk about? You can email any comments, questions, concerns about this or about anything else that we're doing, whether it's some of the things that we're preparing for June 7th or, things about, the campaign that we did just finish. You can email me, you can email Rod or Dale or any of us. All of our email addresses are on our website at gccbartlesville.org. And you can connect with us on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Our handle is at gccbartlesville. And so I just wanted to thank you again for listening, and thank you, Rod, for taking the time to sit down and just talk a little bit about what this has been like for you.
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun.